The morning sun had just begun to slide between the tall buildings, washing the sidewalks in soft gold. Cars hummed by. The smell of coffee drifted from the corner bakery where Noah stood, his small hands red from the chill. He was 11, thin, with a delivery bag that looked heavier than he was. Each morning, he carried boxes of muffins and loaves for Mrs. Alvarez, the bakery owner who had given him the job. It wasn't much, but it kept him fed and off the street. That same morning, a black sedan rolled up to the curb. The car door opened and a tall man in a dark coat stepped out. Ethan Miller, a real estate developer everyone in town seemed to know. His name was on billboards, on charity walls, on new buildings that looked too clean for the people who used to live there. He was calm, polished, the kind of man who checked his reflection on tinted windows without realizing it. He wasn't there for coffee. He was there for a video. A young assistant followed him, holding a phone camera. Ethan adjusted his collar. "Just one clip," he said quietly. "We'll show that generosity is still alive." His idea was simple. He'd drop his wallet on the sidewalk and see what the first passerby would do. If they returned it, he'd reward them. If not, it would make a good reminder for his social page about honesty and choices. He told himself it was harmless. He believed it was good publicity. Ethan opened the door, stepped onto the pavement, and, accidentally, let the wallet slip from his pocket. It landed near Noah's feet. The boy froze. The wallet was smooth and heavy, something expensive. He picked it up with both hands, his eyes widening at the gold initials on the side. Inside, a thick stack of bills. His first thought wasn't temptation, it was panic. He looked around, searching for the owner. He saw Ethan a few steps away, already walking toward his car. "Sir, you dropped!" Noah called out, but his voice cracked. He ran after him, holding the wallet out. Ethan heard footsteps rushing from behind and turned fast, startled. For a split second, all he saw was a boy in worn shoes, clutching his wallet like a thief caught in the act. The assistant's camera was still rolling. Ethan reached out, snatching the wallet before the boy could finish a word. "What do you think you're doing?" Ethan's tone was sharp, louder than he meant it to be. People nearby turned their heads. Noah's lips trembled. I was trying to give it back." The bakery door opened. Mrs. Alvarez hurried out, wiping flour from her hands. "Mr. Miller, he wasn't stealing," she said, stepping between them. "The boy tried to stop you before you drove away." Ethan's chest tightened. He glanced at the wallet, then at the trembling boy. His instinct to defend himself pushed the guilt aside. "It's fine," he muttered. "Here." He reached into the wallet, pulled out a 20, and extended it toward Noah. "For your honesty." Noah didn't take it. His voice was quiet but steady. "I don't want your money, sir. I just didn't want you to lose something important." For a moment, the air went still. Ethan lowered his hand, unsure what to say. The assistant looked uncomfortable, turning off the camera. Around them, the morning noise seemed to fade. Mrs. Alvarez crossed her arms. "Maybe next time don't test people who already have to prove themselves every day." Ethan nodded stiffly, his pride and embarrassment tangled together. "I was just trying to do something good," he said, though it sounded hollow. Noah placed the wallet gently on the car hood. "Then maybe next time just mean it," he whispered. Ethan looked at him, really looked, for the first time. The boy's eyes were tired but bright, the kind of eyes that had seen too much and still hoped anyway. Before he could say another word, Noah turned and walked back toward the bakery, his shoulders tight, his head low. The assistant glanced at Ethan. "Should I delete the video?" Ethan hesitated. "No, keep it," he said quietly, though he wasn't sure why. He got into the car and closed the door. The city moved on outside his window, but something inside him didn't. He stared at the wallet resting on his lap, at his reflection in the glass. For the first time in a long while, the man who thought he understood honesty realized he might not understand it at all. And he didn't know that the boy he had just humiliated, the one who refused his money, would soon turn his entire life upside down. End of part 1. Cliffhanger. But he didn't know that what came next would change everything. The clip went online that same afternoon. It wasn't supposed to, but Ethan's assistant had sent it to a friend who just wanted to edit it a bit. Within hours, the short video had spread across local feeds. A wealthy businessman accusing a kid of stealing, a trembling voice saying, "I was trying to give it back." By evening, the comments had turned cruel. "Classic rich guy behavior. Another fake kindness test. That kid's got more dignity than the man in the coat. Ethan's phone buzzed nonstop. Grace, his wife, read the thread at home and frowned. What were you thinking, Ethan? You're not a social influencer. You build housing projects, not drama. He rubbed his temples. It was meant to show honesty, he muttered. A simple gesture. Simple? Grace scoffed. It looks like you humiliated a child. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The clip replayed in his mind. The boy's frightened eyes, the quiet voice refusing the money. He thought about deleting it, but deep down, he knew it wasn't the video that bothered him. It was what he saw in himself. The next morning, he went back to the bakery. The air smelled like sugar and cinnamon. Inside, customers lined up along the counter. Mrs. Alvarez noticed him immediately. "You came back," she said, her voice cautious. Ethan nodded. "I owe someone an apology." She glanced toward the back door. "Noah's out delivering. He'll be back soon." Ethan waited near the window, his hands in his coat pockets. He watched the morning bustle outside, students running for the bus, a mailman waving at a neighbor. When the bakery door opened again, Noah stepped in, his delivery bag empty, his cheeks pink from the cold. He froze when he saw Ethan. The room went silent for a moment. Then Ethan spoke, softer this time. "Noah, I shouldn't have yelled yesterday. I made a mistake." Noah shifted his weight, unsure. "It's fine, sir." "It's not," Ethan replied. I tried to do something meaningful and ended up hurting someone instead." Mrs. Alvarez wiped her hands and came closer. "He's right about that, you know." Ethan managed a small nod. "I know." He reached into his coat, pulled out an envelope. "For the bakery," he said quickly. "Not for you, Noah. You made your point." Noah looked at the envelope but didn't reach for it. "You don't have to make it up with money." His tone was calm, older than his years. "Just be kind next time, without the camera." The words hit harder than any insult. Ethan felt something inside him shift. Not anger, but shame wrapped in respect. He placed the envelope on the counter anyway. "It's a donation," he said quietly. "Use it for whatever helps around here." Mrs. Alvarez nodded. "Maybe I'll fix the delivery bike so this boy doesn't have to walk 10 blocks every day." Noah smiled faintly, but he still kept his distance. He picked up a tray of bread and carried it to the shelves. Pretending to be busy, Ethan wanted to say more, to explain himself, but every word felt empty. Then Grace walked in. She wore a neat blazer and the look of someone who didn't like surprises. "There you are," she said. "Your office has been calling all morning." Ethan straightened, feeling the invisible armor of his old self slip back on. "Just finishing something," he said. Grace looked around the bakery, her expression sharp. "Is this the place from the video?" Mrs. Alvarez folded her arms. "It is." Grace gave a polite, practiced smile. "I see. Well, I suppose we're all learning lessons these days." She turned to her husband. "We're late for the city meeting about Edgewood." Ethan hesitated, his gaze still on Noah. "Edgewood," he repeated softly, almost to himself. "Yes," Grace said, tapping her watch. "The redevelopment plan. They're expecting you to sign the final approval." As they stepped outside, Ethan looked back through the bakery window one last time. Noah was behind the counter, handing a loaf to a customer, his small smile returning for the first time that morning. Ethan got into the car, his thoughts heavy. "Edgewood," he whispered again. The name tugged at something deep inside him, something he couldn't yet explain. Grace turned to him. "You seem distant." He forced a small smile. "Just thinking about yesterday." "Well, stop," she said. "You can't afford another bad headline. People love to tear down anyone successful." He looked out the window as the car pulled away. The bakery grew smaller in the rearview mirror, but the boy's voice lingered. "Be kind next time without the camera." He had no idea that the place he was headed, that very project called Edgewood, was about to bring that boy back into his life in a way that would shake everything he believed about success, guilt, and the cost of doing good. The car rolled to a stop in front of a tall glass building. The letters Miller Development Group shimmered across the entrance. Inside, people hurried with folders and coffee cups, the rhythm of business drowning out any trace of human warmth. Grace led the way, heels clicking on the marble floor. Ethan followed, slower, still half lost in thought. They entered the conference room where a large digital map filled the wall. The project name glowed in clean blue letters. Edgewood Redevelopment. Ethan took his seat at the head of the table, glancing at the blueprints spread before him. Apartment blocks, green spaces, shops. It looked perfect on paper, but something about it felt wrong. The city officials began their presentation. Phase 3 is ready for final approval, one of them said, pointing at the map. Once demolition of the last buildings is complete, we'll break ground for the new complex. Demolition? Ethan repeated quietly. Yes, the remaining old housing units, the man replied. Most families have already relocated. The word relocated hung in the air like a thin lie. Ethan leaned back, trying to focus, but his mind kept drifting to the bakery, to Noah's face, to that strange mix of pride and pain. Grace noticed his silence. Ethan, she whispered, they're waiting for your confirmation. He nodded automatically, signing the last page of the report. But as the pen touched the paper, a question surfaced in his mind. What happened to the people who used to live there? After the meeting, Ethan walked out alone. The afternoon sun was harsh, bouncing off glass towers. He paused on the sidewalk, staring at the busy traffic, the endless movement of strangers. His phone buzzed. It was a news alert. Someone had reposted the bakery video again. The headline read, "Wealthy developers' social experiment backfires." The comments were brutal. He turned off the screen and slipped the phone into his pocket. Across the street, a small crowd had gathered around a food truck. A familiar voice floated from nearby. Soft, hesitant. Ethan turned his head. Noah was there, standing by a delivery cart, handing out paper bags to customers. Mrs. Alvarez must have expanded her bakery's route. The boy looked tired but focused, moving carefully through the crowd. Ethan felt an unexpected pull. He watched as a woman accidentally bumped into Noah, knocking one of the bags to the ground. The boy quickly apologized, though he wasn't the one at fault. He bent to pick it up, brushing the dust off, his movements calm and practiced, as if he'd done this 1,000 times. Ethan crossed the street before he could change his mind. "Noah," he called gently. The boy looked up, startled. "Oh, it's you. I didn't know you worked here too." Noah shrugged. "I work wherever Mrs. Alvarez needs help." Ethan hesitated, unsure how to bridge the distance between them. "You're a hard worker," he said finally. The boy nodded but didn't reply. He was already loading another box onto the cart. Ethan glanced at the tag on the B, Edgewood District Orders. "Edgewood?" Ethan asked quietly. "Yeah," Noah said, wiping his hands. "It's where I used to live. The bakery delivers there on weekends for the church volunteers. They feed families still trying to find a place after the buildings got torn down." Ethan froze, his throat tightened. "You lived there?" "For a while," Noah said, his tone light, almost casual. "It wasn't great, but it was home." He paused, looking off toward the distance. "My mom and I had a little apartment. We called it 3B. She said the number looked like half a heart turned sideways." The word struck Ethan like a stone to the chest. 3B. He had seen that number before, on an old mural in the demolition photos. A child had drawn it next to a door painted in bright colors. He had even joked with his team that day, saying, "Whoever painted that must have believed in miracles." Now he couldn't breathe. He wanted to ask about the mother, but something in Noah's eyes stopped him. Before he could speak, the church bell from across the street rang softly, breaking the silence. Noah picked up his cart. "I have to go," he said. "The food truck doesn't wait long." Ethan nodded, stepping aside. "Be careful out there." The boy gave a polite smile. "I always am." Then he disappeared into the moving crowd. Ethan stood there, the sound of the bell still echoing in his ears. His assistant texted, asking if he was coming back to the office. He typed a short reply. Later, he turned toward the direction of Edgewood, the name now burning in his mind. It wasn't just another project anymore. It was a place that carried stories, faces, and a boy who once called it home. He didn't know why, but he felt an urge he couldn't ignore, to see it with his own eyes. That evening, the city quieted early. The rush of traffic faded as Ethan drove past the familiar skyline, heading toward the district his company had renamed the Edgewood Renewal Zone. He had approved every blueprint, every demolition, every press release, but he had never actually walked those streets since the work began. Now, for the first time, he wanted to. The car stopped at the edge of what had once been a neighborhood. The buildings were gone, replaced by piles of bricks, twisted metal, and the faint smell of dust and rain. Streetlights flickered over empty lots where children had once played. He stepped out, his polished shoes sinking slightly into the soft dirt. The sound of his own footsteps felt too loud. He walked past a chain-link fence where a weathered sign still hung. Future site of Edgewood Commons. A brighter tomorrow. The corners were torn and someone had spray painted beneath it in faded red letters. For who? Ethan paused. The air was colder here, as if the wind carried what people had left behind. The arguments, the fear, the unfinished goodbyes. He stopped in front of a wall that hadn't been torn down yet. On it was the mural he remembered from the files. A child's drawing of a bright blue door with the number 3B painted above it. The colors had faded, but the small handprints along the bottom were still visible. He reached out, tracing the number with his fingers. 3B, the same number Noah had said with a small, proud smile. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He could almost hear a woman's voice, soft and tired, calling her son inside. He could almost see the boy sitting by that door with a toy truck, waiting for her to come home. But imagination wasn't enough to make peace with what he saw. He had been part of this, not directly, but close enough to feel the weight of every brick that had fallen. Behind him, a voice spoke. "You shouldn't be here after dark." Ethan turned. A man in an old coat stood near the curb, holding a flashlight. His gray hair glowed under the beam. "Pastor Mike?" Ethan recognized him from old community meetings. The pastor nodded. "It's been a while, Mr. Miller. Didn't expect to see you here alone." "I needed to look," Ethan said quietly. Pastor Mike walked closer, the gravel crunching under his boots. "You came too late for the looking, son. All that's left now are memories and dust." "I didn't realize how many people this place held," Ethan admitted. "It's different seeing it like this." The pastor's eyes softened. "We tried to tell your office that. Some folks asked for just a few extra days to move. Families with kids, sick parents. But business runs on deadlines, doesn't it?" Ethan nodded slowly. "It shouldn't have." They stood in silence. The night wind rattled the broken fence. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, and the sound echoed through the empty lots like a ghost. Pastor Mike looked at him carefully. "You remember a boy named Noah?" Ethan froze. "Yes. He used to live right there." The pastor pointed at the mural. "His mother was a nurse, worked the night shift, still found time to read to him under that doorlight. When the notice came to clear out, she asked for an extension. Never got one." Ethan's throat tightened. "What happened to her?" "She lost her job after the move," the pastor said quietly. "No place to stay, no one to help. She passed about a year ago, heart condition, they said. The boy's been on his own ever since. Mrs. Alvarez took him in part-time." The wind carried a sound, something between a sigh and a whisper. Ethan's hands trembled slightly. "Does Noah know?" "He knows she's gone," the pastor replied. "What he doesn't know is how many people could have helped but didn't." Ethan stared at the mural again. The painted door seemed smaller now, fragile against the wide emptiness. Pastor Mike rested a hand on his shoulder. "You've built many things, Mr. Miller. Maybe it's time to rebuild something else." Ethan nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "I will." As he turned back toward his car, he caught one last glimpse of the mural under the streetlight. For a moment, it almost looked alive, like someone might open that blue door from the inside. He stood there longer than he meant to, as if waiting for forgiveness to step out, but the night gave him only silence. When he finally drove away, the painted number 3B stayed burned in his mind, and somewhere inside him, a quiet decision began to form, one that would bring him face to face with the boy who unknowingly carried the same piece of his guilt. Morning light slipped through the blinds of Ethan's office, landing across the polished wood of his desk. He hadn't slept. The files from Edgewood lay open in front of him, corners creased, pages scattered. The same word appeared on every document: demolition. He kept hearing the pastor's voice. She asked for just a few extra days. When Grace arrived, her heels clicking against the marble floor, she found him still staring at the blueprints. "You're here early," she said lightly. "Or maybe you never left." Ethan closed the folder. "We need to talk about Edgewood," she sighed. "I thought we already did. The new contractors start next week." "That project cost more than money," he said quietly. "People lost homes. There was a woman, a nurse, who lived in Unit 3B. Grace frowned. "Why does that matter now?" "Because her son survived," Ethan replied. "And I met him." Grace froze, her eyes narrowing. "The boy from the bakery?" He nodded. "His name is Noah." Grace leaned against the desk, crossing her arms. "Ethan, you're letting guilt cloud your judgment. We can't fix every broken story. We build opportunities. That's what development is." "Opportunity doesn't erase responsibility," he said. She exhaled sharply. "What do you want to do? Rebuild the old apartments? Turn the company into a charity? Ethan didn't answer. He looked out the window at the skyline his firm had shaped. Clean, profitable, detached. Maybe we should start with listening, he murmured. Grace stared at him as if she didn't recognize the man standing there. You sound like someone who's forgotten what business means. Maybe, he said, turning toward her. I'm remembering what being human means. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The hum of the city filled the silence. Then Grace grabbed her bag. You have a board meeting in an hour. Try not to turn it into a confession. After she left, Ethan sat for a while longer, his thoughts tangled between duty and conscience. He reached for the folder marked Edgewood, Phase 1 Archive, and flipped to the photos of the old buildings before they were cleared. Families standing on balconies, kids with backpacks, a woman holding a broom at a doorway marked with blue paint. And there, barely visible in the corner, a small shape hanging from a nail. A keychain shaped like a tiny heart. He leaned closer. The tag was stamped 3B. Hours later, he drove back to the bakery. The smell of sugar and coffee hit him before he even opened the door. Mrs. Alvarez looked up from the counter. You again, she said, but not unkindly. I need to talk to Noah, he said. She pointed toward the back room. He's cleaning up the trays. Ethan walked in slowly. The boy was stacking pans, his sleeves rolled to his elbows, a smudge of flour across his cheek. When he turned and saw Ethan, his shoulders tensed. Did I do something wrong? Noah asked. No, Ethan said. You did everything right. He took a breath, unsure how to begin. You once told me you lived in a place called Edgewood, Unit 3B. Noah nodded cautiously. Yeah, me and my mom. Why? Ethan reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small photo from the file, the mural with the blue door. This was your building, wasn't it? Noah stepped closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. That's our wall. I painted that door with my mom. She said blue meant hope. Ethan's throat tightened. I saw it last night. The door's gone now, but the mural's still there. The boy traced the outline of the photo with his finger. She told me that when things got hard, I should keep the key to that door. It was just a little keychain, shaped like a heart. I still have it. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal charm, scratched but still shining faintly. Ethan recognized it instantly, the same one from the photo. The boy smiled faintly. It doesn't open anything, but it reminds me that home is real, even if you can't see it. Ethan felt a weight he couldn't name press against his chest. Can I hold it? He asked. Noah hesitated, then placed the key in his hand. It was lighter than Ethan expected, yet it carried more meaning than all the contracts he'd ever signed. He closed his fingers around it, his voice low. This shouldn't be the only thing left of your home. Noah tilted his head. What do you mean? Ethan met his eyes. I mean, maybe it's time someone gave something back. Before the boy could ask more, a knock sounded from the doorway. It was Mrs. Alvarez holding a folded piece of paper. This came for you, Noah, she said, from the community center. The boy opened it carefully. His smile faded. They're shutting down the weekend food program, he murmured. No more deliveries after this week. Mrs. Alvarez shook her head. They said there's not enough funding. Ethan stared at the letter, then at the boy still clutching the key. The world suddenly felt too small for all the wrongs that needed fixing. Let me see what I can do, he said. Mrs. Alvarez raised an eyebrow. You mean it? Ethan nodded. Completely. Noah looked at him with cautious hope. Why would you help us? Ethan's answer was simple, almost a whisper. Because I should have helped a long time ago. As he left the bakery, the tiny heart-shaped key weighed softly in his pocket, a silent promise of what was yet to come. Rain started falling that night, soft and steady against the office windows. Ethan sat at his desk long after everyone had gone home. The city lights below blurred into streaks of gold through the glass. He couldn't stop replaying Noah's words. She said blue meant hope. He opened the Edgewood project files again, this time digging deeper into the old emails that had been archived by his assistant. Most of them were standard updates, permits, contracts, reports. But then, buried near the bottom, he saw one that hadn't been marked as read. The subject line was short. Please delay demolition. Urgent family request. It was from someone named Jasmine Clark, a social worker whose name sounded vaguely familiar. He clicked the message. Dear Mr. Miller, one of the tenants in Edgewood, Marissa Cole, Unit 3B, has a young son and nowhere to go. She works nights and has no transportation arranged yet. Please consider granting a 72-hour extension before demolition begins. It would make all the difference." The timestamp hit him like a punch. The email had arrived 2 days before the demolition. He scrolled to the end. The message had been forwarded to several people in the company: his project manager, his assistant, and Grace. Ethan leaned back in his chair, his pulse heavy in his ears. He remembered the morning of that demolition, the meeting, the rush to sign permits, Grace reminding him that every delay meant money left on the ground. He searched the message thread. Grace had replied, "Acknowledged. We'll handle it internally." No one else had. There was no record of a call, no note, no follow-up, just silence. Ethan stared at the screen, his hand trembling slightly. That one unread message was all it would have taken. 72 hours. 3 days. He rose from his chair, pacing the length of the office. Guilt pressed against his chest until he couldn't sit still. He grabbed his coat, left the building, and drove through the rain toward the small community office listed in Jasmine's email signature. When he arrived, the building lights were dim, but one office still glowed. Inside, a woman with glasses sat surrounded by piles of files. She looked up as he knocked on the door. "We're closed for walk-ins," she said, then squinted. "Wait, Mr. Miller?" "Yes," he said quietly. "You're Jasmine Clark?" She nodded, cautious. "You don't usually show up without a camera crew or a lawyer." He smiled weakly. "I came because I found your message. About Edgewood. About a woman named Marissa Cole." Her expression changed instantly. The tired lines on her face softened into something more serious. "You got that email now? After all this time?" "I didn't see it before," he admitted, "but I should have." Jasmine leaned back, exhaling slowly. "She begged for help, Mr. Miller. She called everyone she could. I sent that message because I thought someone at your office might have a heart." Ethan lowered his eyes. "She was Noah's mother." Jasmine nodded. "Yes, a good woman. Worked nights at the hospital, always brought her boy to the community center on Sundays. When she lost her apartment, she said she'd still come back to volunteer once she got back on her feet, but she never did." Her voice broke slightly. "The day after the demolition, I found her sitting on the curb across from the rubble. She just stared at the dust. She didn't cry. She just kept saying, 'Where will he sleep tonight?'" Ethan felt the words slice through him. "And now the boy." "She's gone. He's still here," Jasmine said firmly. "He's tougher than you think." He nodded slowly, gripping the back of a chair to steady himself. "I need your help, Jasmine. I want to do something real. For the families who lost everything. For him." Her eyes searched his face for any trace of pretense. "Why now?" "Because I can't undo what happened," he said. "But maybe I can stop it from happening again." Jasmine studied him for a moment, then gave a small nod. "If you're serious, there's a community meeting tomorrow night. People from Edgewood will be there. They've been asking for answers for years." "I'll be there," he said. As he turned to leave, she added quietly, "Don't come to defend yourself. Just come ready to listen." Outside, the rain had eased into a drizzle. Ethan stood under the streetlight, the letter from Jasmine replaying in his mind. Somewhere, the city was still alive. People rushing home, lights flickering in windows, mothers calling their children inside. He thought of the mural again, the blue door and the handprints beneath it, hope painted by a child who had no idea his home was about to vanish. Ethan looked down at the heart-shaped key still resting in his palm. The metal was cold against his skin. He whispered to no one, 3 days? That's all she asked for. Then he walked away into the night, determined that this time, no plea would go unheard. The community hall was old, its paint chipped and ceiling fans humming above a crowd that had grown used to being ignored. Folding chairs filled the space, occupied by men and women who once called Edgewood home. Some held folders of unpaid bills, others just held each other's hands. At the front stood a wooden podium with a crooked microphone, and beside it, a banner that read, Edgewood Neighborhood Forum, one last time. Ethan arrived quietly, without security or staff. He wore no tie, only a gray sweater that made him blend in with the rest of the room. Jasmine was already there, standing near the podium. When she saw him, her eyes softened, but her tone stayed steady. "You came," she said. "I said I would," Ethan replied. "I'm not here to talk, I'm here to listen." "Good," she said, adjusting her glasses. "Then take a seat near the front. People deserve to look you in the eye." He nodded and sat down among the crowd. Whispers rippled through the room as faces turned toward him, some in surprise, some in resentment. He could feel the weight of every look. but he didn't flinch. The meeting began. Jasmine opened with calm words about rebuilding trust, then invited residents to speak. One by one, they stood and told their stories about eviction notices that came too soon, about jobs lost when the neighborhood disappeared, about promises from developers that never came true. Ethan sat still, his hands clasped, eyes fixed on the floor. He recognized names from old contracts, faces from photos he had once skimmed past. Then, near the back, a soft voice rose. "May I say something?" It was Noah. He stood slowly, holding his heart-shaped key like a talisman. Mrs. Alvarez was beside him, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder. The room fell silent. Jasmine handed him the microphone, and the boy stepped forward. His voice was small at first, but clear. "I used to live in Edgewood, in building number 3, apartment 3B. A few murmurs passed through the crowd. Some people remembered the place, the color of the door. My mom worked nights at the hospital," Noah continued. "She used to say our home wasn't much, but it was ours. When we got the notice to leave, she told me we'd find another place, but we didn't. We slept in the car for a while, then with friends. She always said things would get better. Then, they didn't." He stopped for a moment, his voice trembling. "When she died, I didn't have a home to go back to. I came here today because I wanted you to know her name, Marissa Cole. She was kind, and she believed people cared. She believed that if she just asked nicely, someone would listen." A heavy silence filled the room. Ethan's chest ached as if each word were aimed straight at him. Noah held up the key. "This is from our door. I kept it because she said it would remind me that kindness is real, but sometimes I wonder if she was wrong." Someone in the crowd whispered, "No, she wasn't." Another voice followed, "She wasn't wrong, kid." Noah nodded slowly and handed the microphone back to Jasmine. "That's all I wanted to say." He turned to leave, but Ethan stood up before he could. "Wait." All eyes shifted toward him. He hadn't planned to speak, but his voice rose on its own, heavy with guilt and resolve. "You're right to wonder, Noah, because people like me made it easy to stop listening." He walked toward the front, his steps unsteady but firm. "I was the one who approved the Edgewood project. I saw the blueprints, the cost, the timelines, but not the people. I didn't see your mother's name, though it was right there in an email I ignored." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jasmine looked at him, stunned but silent. "I can't change what happened," Ethan said, his voice shaking slightly, "but I can face it. You deserve more than an apology, Noah. You and everyone here deserved a home that wasn't stolen in the name of progress." He turned toward the residents. "I can't erase the past, but I'm here to rebuild what was lost. Not as a businessman, just as a man who finally learned what it costs to forget compassion." The room stayed silent for a long moment. Then a woman stood up, one of the older residents. "Words won't fix our lives," she said quietly. "I know," Ethan replied. "That's why I'm not offering words. I'm offering change." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small, heart-shaped key Noah had shown him days earlier. He placed it on the podium. This belonged to a boy who kept believing in kindness even when the world gave him nothing. "I want this key to be the symbol of something new, something built with the people who lived it, not the ones who took it away." Whispers spread through the hall. Noah stared at him, eyes wide, unsure what to believe. Ethan met his gaze. "You once told me to be kind without the camera. I'm here to prove I can." Noah didn't say anything, but for the first time, he didn't look away. And then, slowly, people began to clap. Not everyone, not loudly, but enough to fill the air with something that felt like the beginning of forgiveness. Jasmine's voice broke the silence. "We'll hold you to your word, Mr. Miller." Ethan nodded. "You should." As the meeting ended, Noah picked up the key from the podium and looked at him one more time. "If you really mean it," he said softly, "then let's build something my mom would have been proud of." Ethan felt his throat tighten. "We will," he whispered. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man defending his work. He felt like someone starting over. The next morning, sunlight spilled across Ethan's desk, catching on the edges of rolled-up blueprints. He hadn't slept. The echoes of last night's meeting still filled his head. Noah's trembling voice, the silence that followed, the hesitant clapping that felt like both forgiveness and judgment. He stared at the city map spread before him. Every red circle marked a site his company had redeveloped, each one a profit, but now they looked like scars. He whispered to himself, "We built towers where homes used to breathe." When Grace walked in, heels clicking, her eyes landed on the same map. "So, that's what last night was about," she said flatly. "You went to the meeting." Ethan didn't look up. "I did." "And confessed?" she asked, crossing her arms. "Do you have any idea what kind of PR disaster you've just created?" He met her eyes, calm but resolute. "Maybe it's time the truth did what PR never could. Heal something." Grace laughed softly, shaking her head. "You're not serious. You're going to throw away a billion-dollar legacy because of one kid's sad story?" Ethan's tone sharpened. "That kid lost his home because of our signatures. His mother begged for 3 more days. We didn't even bother to answer." Grace's expression faltered for the first time. "You think rebuilding one block will make people forget the rest?" "No," he said, "but maybe it'll remind them that change starts somewhere." He rolled the blueprints tighter and handed them to her. "We're redesigning Edgewood, and this time it's not for profit." Grace stared at him as if he had lost his mind. "You're replacing high-end condos with community housing. You'll ruin us." Ethan took a deep breath. "If compassion ruins us, maybe we deserve it." She didn't answer. The sound of her heels faded down the hall, leaving him alone with the soft hum of the city beyond the window. That afternoon, Ethan drove to the construction site where Edgewood had once stood. The lot was empty now, just gravel, weeds, and echoes. The wind carried faint laughter from a nearby playground, the kind of sound the place had missed for too long. Noah was already there with Jasmine and a few volunteers from the community center. The boy stood near the edge of the lot, holding a small wooden sign that read, "Future Home of Edgewood Community Garden." Ethan stepped out of the car and walked toward them. Jasmine crossed her arms. "You actually came." "I said I would," he replied. "And I brought something." He unrolled the blueprint across the hood of his car. The paper flapped in the wind as he held it down. "This is the new plan: a garden, a clinic, a learning center, and affordable homes. Every one of them named after the families who lived here." Noah leaned closer, his voice quiet but full of awe. "You mean my mom's name too?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, there'll be a sign right here." He pointed to the middle of the design. "Marissa Cole Memorial Clinic, a place that helps people before they lose everything." Jasmine blinked, caught off guard. "You'd really do that?" "I already started," he said. "The foundation will fund it. No conditions, no investors waiting for a return." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Noah smiled faintly. "She would have liked that." Ethan looked out over the empty lot. "She deserves it." They began walking the site together. Noah moved slowly, tracing the air with his hand as if painting invisible lines across the space. "It still feels like home," he said softly, "even with nothing here." Ethan knelt beside him. "It will be again." A light breeze passed, carrying the smell of earth and rain. It lifted the corner of the blueprint, revealing a note scribbled in pencil. Ethan's own handwriting. "Kindness is the only thing worth rebuilding." As they packed up to leave, Jasmine paused. "You know, people don't just forget pain because of a few promises. You'll have to earn their trust." "I know," he said. "That's why I'm not asking for trust. I'm building it." Later that evening, Ethan drove Noah home, or rather to the small apartment above the bakery. Before the boy got out, Ethan stopped him. "There's something I want to give you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the heart-shaped key. "This belongs with you, Noah. But one day, when the garden opens, I'll need you to be the one who unlocks the gate." Noah smiled, holding the key tightly. "I will, I promise." As the boy walked away, Ethan stayed in the car, watching him disappear into the warm glow of the bakery lights. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man haunted by loss. He felt like a man finally doing something about it. He whispered into the quiet, "Marissa, I'm sorry, but I'll make this right." The rain began again, gentle, cleansing, the kind that soaks the ground just enough to let new things grow. Months passed. The Edgewood lot, once a wasteland of gravel and silence, began to stir with life again. Trucks rolled in carrying lumber, pipes, and sacks of soil. Volunteers came from every corner of the city, former residents, students, even people who had once protested outside Ethan's office. The first day the foundation was poured, Ethan stood among them wearing a hard hat, sleeves rolled up. He didn't give orders. He carried bricks, passed out water, and listened. Every conversation reminded him of how much had been lost and how much could still be built. Jasmine walked up beside him, her clipboard tucked under her arm. "You've surprised a lot of people," she said, "including me." Ethan smiled faintly. That's good. People stop expecting good things after they've been disappointed too many times. She nodded. You're giving them something to expect again. At that moment, Noah ran toward them, his shoes kicking up dust. Mr. Miller, come see. Ethan followed him to the far end of the lot. A small crowd had gathered around a patch of freshly turned soil. In the middle of it stood a wooden post with a bronze plaque bolted to it. The words glowed in the sunlight. Marissa Cole Memorial Garden, built on hope, grown in love. Noah looked up, smiling so wide his cheeks flushed. They put her name first, before the company. Ethan swallowed hard, his voice low. It's where it belongs. The boy crouched and placed the heart-shaped key at the base of the post, pressing it gently into the dirt. She doesn't need a grave, he said softly. This is better. She can watch things grow. Ethan crouched beside him. You've got her strength, he said. Noah shrugged. Maybe, but you're the one who made this happen. Ethan shook his head. No, kid, you did. You reminded me what mattered. They both looked around. The laughter, the hammering, the chatter of people planting flowers and laying bricks. What once was a place of endings was now beginning again. That night, the community gathered for the first lighting of the garden. Strings of warm bulbs hung between wooden posts, and the smell of fresh soil mixed with cinnamon rolls from Mrs. Alvarez's bakery. Children ran between the benches, their laughter filling the space that had once known only echo. When the time came to speak, Jasmine called Ethan forward. You built the towers that took this place away, she said, and now you helped rebuild the ground it stood on. That's not something we forget. Ethan stepped up, the microphone trembling slightly in his hand. I don't deserve your praise, he began, but I'll accept your forgiveness, if you're willing to give it. He paused, scanning the crowd. I once thought progress was made of steel and glass, but tonight I see it's made of hands and hearts, of people willing to believe again, even when they've been hurt. Noah stood near the front, holding a small candle. Ethan smiled at him before continuing. This isn't just a garden. It's proof that good can grow even out of regret. And if you take care of it, if we take care of it, it'll outlive every one of us. He stepped down and nodded to Noah. You ready? The boy walked to the gate with quiet pride, the same key now tied to a small ribbon. He slid it into the lock and turned it gently. The gate creaked open, and as the lights flickered on, the garden glowed golden under the night sky. People cheered. Some cried. Others simply stood in silence, feeling something they hadn't felt in years. Peace. Ethan stood in the crowd watching them, the warmth of the lights reflecting in his eyes. Grace wasn't there. She'd resigned months ago, but somehow that felt right. Jasmine leaned close and said, You know, you can't undo the past. I know, he said quietly, but you can plant something better in its place. Noah joined them, holding 2 candles, one for himself and one for the mother he missed every day. He handed one to Ethan. For her, he said. Ethan lit the candle and whispered, For her. The wind blew gently, but the flame didn't go out. For the first time, Edgewood was alive again, not with wealth, but with something richer, compassion. And, as the night deepened, the sound of laughter and soft music drifted through the air, carrying with it a promise, one that no amount of money could ever buy. The morning after the opening, the city felt softer. Sunlight poured through the windows of the new Edgewood Community Garden, painting the fresh soil gold. The air smelled of rain, earth, and cinnamon from the nearby bakery. Ethan arrived early, long before the volunteers. He walked the paths in silence, hands in his pockets, listening to the wind weave through the rows of flowers. In the center of the garden stood the bronze plaque, now glistening with dew. Built on hope, grown in love. He reached out, brushing his fingers over the words. For a long time, he'd thought legacy meant buildings, profits, his name engraved on glass. But now, standing there, he realized the truest legacy was invisible, carried in the hearts of those who'd found shelter, food, or a reason to keep believing. Mr. Miller? A small voice called from behind him. He turned to see Noah walking toward him with a backpack slung over one shoulder. His new glasses caught the light, and his smile was as bright as the morning. You're early, Ethan said. I couldn't sleep, Noah replied. I wanted to see the garden again before school. It looks even better in the sun. Ethan smiled. It does. Feels alive, doesn't it? Noah nodded, kneeling beside a small flower bed. He touched one of the sprouting plants gently. I think she'd be proud. My mom, I mean. Ethan crouched beside him. "She'd be proud of you, Noah. This all started with your honesty, your courage to hold on to what was right, even when no one was looking." The boy shrugged modestly. "I just didn't want to be someone who takes what isn't theirs." Ethan looked at him for a long moment. "That's what makes you someone worth trusting." They stood there in the quiet, the city just beginning to wake beyond the fence. The heart-shaped key still hung near the entrance gate, tied with a red ribbon. It glimmered faintly, catching the light like a tiny star. Noah pointed at it. "When the clinic opens, can I be the one to unlock it again?" Ethan smiled. "It's your key, Noah. You'll always be the one who opens the door." Just then, Jasmine arrived carrying 2 coffees and a newspaper tucked under her arm. "Morning," she said, handing 1 cup to Ethan. "Have you seen this?" She unfolded the paper, showing the headline, "Billionaire funds housing for formerly homeless families. It's time we build people, not towers." Ethan read it quietly. "They love their labels," he said, shaking his head. "But if it brings attention to the cause, let them print whatever they want." Jasmine grinned. "You know, for someone who used to hate community meetings, you're becoming a regular hero." He laughed softly. "I'm not a hero, I just stopped being afraid of doing the right thing." As Noah ran off to join a group of volunteers planting new seedlings, Jasmine glanced at Ethan. "You changed, you know. People notice." Ethan watched the boy in the distance, his laughter echoing between the garden walls. "Maybe I didn't change," he said quietly. "Maybe I just remembered who I was before the money got too loud." They stood there for a while, watching sunlight spread across the soil. Workers began arriving, neighbors passed by to drop off tools and breakfast, and for a moment, it all felt perfectly ordinary, which made it even more beautiful. When it was time for Noah to leave for school, he turned back and waved. "See you after class." Ethan waved back. "Don't forget, we still have work to do." The boy grinned. "We always will." As Noah disappeared down the street, Ethan took one last look at the garden. Rows of flowers shimmered in the light, each one planted by hands that had once trembled from struggle. Now they trembled from hope. He whispered to himself, "This is what we were meant to build." Then he turned, walking toward the clinic construction site just beyond the fence, where the sign already bore its name, the Marissa Cole Center. The camera would fade on that plaque, on the garden blooming behind it, on a man who had finally learned that redemption isn't found in rebuilding walls, but in rebuilding trust. And maybe, if you listened closely, you'd still hear Noah's voice from somewhere in the distance, laughing, alive. Proof that even the deepest losses can grow something new. So let me ask you, if you had the power to rebuild something in your own life, would you start with walls or with people? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story, here on Power and Karma.